One of the main reasons people tell me they don't want to leave a position outside of financial security is lack of clarity and confidence around what to do. This feeling can 100% be remedied if you are ready to do the work. There is no quick fix to finding a job or advancing in your career, but being strategic and doing the work will pay off. If you're ready to work, let's go. This is one episode in a 20-episode season designed to provide career foundations for experienced professionals. We are going to give you the tools to find clarity and confidence, help you with your resume, give you simple interview strategies, known job search strategies, negotiation tactics, and more, all with an experienced professional in mind. My name is Julia, and I'm the career strategist behind the Ride the Tide Collective podcast, where we equip ambitious professionals to strategize and take action to advance their career. Hi everyone, this is our last episode of this season. Can you believe that we made it through 20 episodes during this pandemic? I can't, but here we are. Before we dive into our topic for this episode, I want to thank you for listening to this podcast and supporting this business. This podcast has been so much fun to record and produce, and I'm looking forward to what the next few seasons have in store. If you are serious about advancing in your career and want the best tips and tricks to make it happen, stick with me and hit that subscribe button. Moving from doubt to confidence in your career is the final episode topic for this season because most of my clients, regardless of where they are in their career, struggle with doubt. For some, it's been ingrained since childhood to question your abilities. For others, it's a byproduct of anxiety or depression. And for some, a person or situation has made you doubt yourself. I often read about women needing to overcome doubt in their career, specifically how women won't apply for a position because they don't meet the majority of the qualifications, but men will always apply even if they only meet 20% of the qualifications. And I am here to tell you that doubt knows no gender. I have met with just as many men who question their abilities as I have women. Are there differences between how men and women think, feel, and approach situations? Sure, there are some. But lumping each gender together these days doesn't help anyone. Not all women deal with doubt, and not all men are overconfident. Having said all that, regardless of your gender or situation, at some point we all feel a sense of doubt in our abilities as it relates to our career. In some cases, our doubt comes from our home life and spills into our career because our brain might say something like, well, your partner thinks you're worthless at home, so you must also be worthless at work. I sincerely hope you don't fall into this situation, but it definitely happens. So how do we combat it? How do we get to a place where we are confident in who we are and our abilities in our career? Well, first, we need to identify the negative internal talk that is making us doubt ourselves. In the example I just gave, where your brain tells you that your partner thinks you're worthless, we need to take that statement and unpack it. Is it truth? Did your partner tell you in those words that you are worthless? If they didn't, then you need to figure out why you took it that way and what they really meant. If they did, you still need to unpack it and get to the heart of why they feel that way. If your negative self-talk is situational and only at work, you would go through the same process. Did your boss or coworker use specific language that you are repeating in your head, or did you take an offhand statement and blow it up in your mind? Hear me when I say toxic people, toxic relationships, toxic management, and toxic environments exist, and they can create serious mental and emotional blocks and issues for you. If you believe you are in a dangerous situation, please report what is happening to you to the most appropriate entity. But the heart of identifying the negative internal talk is to make sure it's real and substantiated. Most doubt can be relieved when we have a better understanding of how our mind and emotions twist the words of others. Next, you're going to want to take an inventory of your accomplishments in your career. You can go as far back as you want, but make sure you include recent accomplishments as well. Brainstorm as many as you possibly can so you have a healthy list. When you're done, not only will you have content for your resume or an interview, but I want you to take time to congratulate yourself at the good work that you have done throughout your career. My third piece of advice is to talk to a few people whose opinions matter to you and ask them how they would describe you. I recently did this and it was an amazing exercise. I didn't do it because I have doubt right now. I did it as part of a coaching exercise, but I was surprised at how confident I felt after I got a few responses. My people used words to describe me that were accurate and affirmed that the person I was outwardly matched the person that I was internally. Back when I worked in an office with coworkers, I had a coworker say to me, "You know you're a nice person, right?" And I remember being taken back by this comment because I did not, in fact, think I was a nice person. My internal talk at that point was so negative because of how I interpreted others' communication toward me that I never thought of myself as a nice person. To this day, I have moments when I say to myself, "You are a nice person." Because sometimes I can't control the negativity in my head, and when it starts, I have to stop it immediately. As a side note, if your partner isn't one of the people who lifts you up and makes you feel good about yourself, that's an area you might need to do some work on, but this is not a relationship podcast, so I'm not going to get into that right now. My fourth tip is to identify the next step in your career and find a job description. It doesn't have to be a job you want to apply for, but a job that would make the most sense for you right now. Take the job description and next to each qualification, write yes, no, or in progress to whether you have that skill or qualification. If you really want to go deeper, write an example of what you actually did. When you're done with that, I want you to look at what you put a no next to and consider if it's a skill you can learn now, a skill you can learn on the job if you took this job, or whether it's central to the position. This type of analysis helps you realistically look at new positions with clear data points in front of you. If you qualify for at least 40 to 50% of what's listed and you like the job, I would apply. If you notice that the next step in your career requires a skill set you don't have, now you have a goal and you know what you need to move forward. Our brains love to tell us that we aren't good enough or we could never do XYZ. But when you arm yourself with information and data, you can put your brain at ease. More often than not, that's what we need to feel confident. At one point in my career, I had a VP tell me I wasn't fit to be a leader and then made me the interim leader of my office. When this happened, I was confused, to say the least. I could have taken that situation and said to myself, "You will never be a leader. You're not equipped. You're not good enough." But I didn't. What the VP meant to say was that I wasn't the type of leader she needed and wanted in the position at that time. Because I had a good understanding of who I was dealing with, I was able to make that shift quickly. I assessed the situation, I knew what she wanted, and I wasn't it. I don't think it was anything against me, but the language made it seem that way. That experience could have been enough for me to never consider another leadership role. But that wasn't the case. I ended up leaving the company with a $10,000 pay bump and a director title. My final piece of advice is to keep a notebook and write down the times that you doubt yourself. When you do, ask yourself if it's real or internal and write down why. In the moment, I would also write down why whatever you thought isn't true. Basically, counter it with a positive about yourself. This practice will get you to start speaking positively to yourself instead of negatively. Combating doubt can be a process depending on where it stems from. But if you are aware of it, you can manage it. Most of the time, making the choice to manage it is more of the battle than the actual doubt itself. People love to stay in a victim mentality because it's easier. But when you stay in that place, especially in your career, you will stay stagnant. Remember, if you're not growing, you're dying. Thank you again for listening to season 2 of Ride the Tide Collective, the podcast, where we covered career foundations for experienced professionals. As always, if you have any questions or would like to continue the conversation, please connect with Ride the Tide Collective on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook.